a woman who had given up on praying, a child no one wanted to adopt, and something that happened on a silent night that changed them both forever. A miracle of the Virgin Mary that no one would believe was possible. But before we continue, leave a comment telling me where you're watching from and what time it is there right now. I'd love to see how far the miracles of the Virgin Mary are reaching. You know that kind of person who dedicates their entire life to caring for others, who wakes up every day thinking about how to make someone's world a little better. Sarah Mitchell was that kind of person, 45 years old, 20 of them working at the same orphanage in Illinois, 32 children under her care, each with a story, each needing love, safety, hope. Sarah had been married. Michael, her husband, was a history teacher. They had plans, travel through Europe, retire together, grow old hand in hand. But 3 years ago, on a rainy October afternoon, a car ran a red light, and Sarah found herself alone. She had been Catholic, devout, went to Mass every Sunday, prayed before bed. But after Michael passed, something broke. It wasn't that she stopped believing in God, it was that she stopped wanting to talk to Him. The image of the Virgin Mary still hung on the wall of her small office, but Sarah no longer looked at it. The children had become her life, her purpose. If she couldn't have the family she dreamed of, at least she could care for those who needed love the most. And then there was Lily. Lily was 7 years old, brown hair, always a little messy, eyes that seemed too big for her small face, a shy smile that rarely appeared. Lily had been at the orphanage since she was 4. Her mother had tried to raise her alone, but couldn't handle the girl's condition. She dropped her off one Saturday morning and never came back. Lily had seizures twice, sometimes 3 times a week. She took medication every day, but it only helped partially. The seizures continued, and because of that, no one wanted to adopt her. Sarah had seen it happen 8 times before. A couple would come to visit the orphanage. They'd show interest in Lily. The girl was sweet, polite, intelligent. But when Sarah explained about the epilepsy, the couples changed their minds. In September 2023, a couple from Dallas came to visit. They were young, well-intentioned, and eager to adopt. They spent the whole afternoon playing with Lily. The little girl was glowing. After years, she finally had hope. But when Sarah explained about the epilepsy, the woman went pale. "Oh," was all she said. The next day, they called to say they were no longer interested. Lily didn't cry. She just went quiet. Very quiet. And when Sarah tried to talk to her, she said, "It's okay, Sarah. I already knew nobody would want me anyway." Those words haunted Sarah for days. October came. The leaves changed color, the air grew colder, and life at the orphanage went on as usual. Lily had her classes in the morning. She played with the other children. She took her medication at 8 a.m., and again at 8 p.m. she slept in the room she shared with 3 other girls. The seizures continued. Tuesday, 1 in the morning. Thursday, 1 in the afternoon. Saturday, 2 on the same day. It was on a Tuesday, October 24th, that everything changed. Sarah had gone to bed early. She was exhausted. It had been a long day full of meetings, paperwork, and problem-solving. She fell asleep the moment her head touched the pillow, but at 2:37 a.m. she woke up. It wasn't a noise. It wasn't a dream. It was a strange feeling, as if something were calling her. Have you ever felt that? Woken up suddenly and just knew you had to do something, but didn't know what? Sarah got up, put on her robe, left the small apartment attached to the main orphanage building. The hallway was silent, dark, except for the faint emergency lights. She walked slowly, not sure where she was going. She reached the corridor where the children's rooms were. Lily's door was slightly open. She approached, gently pushed it, and saw. There was someone in the room. Sarah froze in the doorway. Her heart pounded so hard she could hear the sound in her ears. A woman was kneeling beside Lily's bed. She wore something white, with a blue mantle over her shoulders. Her hair was dark, long, falling softly around her face. Her hands rested on Lily's head as if she were blessing her. And the smell, roses. A scent of roses so strong, so intense, that Sarah almost staggered. It wasn't a normal perfume. It was as if someone had filled the room with thousands of fresh roses, sweet but not cloying, intense but not suffocating. Sarah looked around frantically. There were no flowers in that room. But the scent was unmistakable, real, impossible to ignore. Sarah wanted to scream, wanted to run, wanted to do something, but her body wouldn't move. It was as if her feet were glued to the floor. The woman kept praying silently. Her lips moved, but Sarah couldn't hear a thing. The world had gone completely quiet. Sarah tried to breathe. Her hand clutched the doorframe so tightly her knuckles turned white. The woman turned her face slightly. Sarah saw her profile. Young. It was as if that face radiated a peace Sarah had never seen in any human being. The woman's eyes were closed. Her hand still rested on Lily's head, who was sleeping deeply, peacefully, with an expression Sarah had never seen on the girl's face before. Lily looked serene, completely at peace. And then the woman opened her eyes and looked directly at Sarah. Sarah felt as if the entire world had stopped in that moment. Those eyes, how could she describe them? It wasn't the color, it was what was inside them. Love, pure love, unconditional, absolute. Sarah felt tears rolling down her face before she even realized she was crying. She couldn't look away. It was as if those eyes could see her completely, every wound, every pain, every moment of anger she had held inside for the past 3 years. And there was no judgment, only love. The woman smiled. It was a soft, almost imperceptible smile. But Sarah felt as though that smile embraced her entire being. The woman turned her face toward Lily. She leaned slightly, as if whispering something into the girl's ear. Then she kissed Lily's forehead gently, and then she was gone. It wasn't gradual. She didn't stand up and walk away. She simply wasn't there anymore. Sarah blinked. The room was empty. She stumbled inside. Her legs trembled so badly she almost fell. She grabbed the edge of one of the other girls' beds to keep her balance. Her eyes darted around frantically. She checked behind the curtain, opened the small wardrobe, looked under all 4 beds, opened the door to the adjoining bathroom. No one could have left. Sarah had been standing at the only door to the room. And the window, she ran to the window. It was closed. Locked from the inside, just as it always was. I saw her, she whispered to herself. I saw someone there. But how? And the scent of roses was still in the air, strong, present, real. Sarah looked at Lily one last time. The girl had a faint smile on her lips, as if she were having the most wonderful dream of her life. Sarah left the room on shaky legs. She closed the door softly, leaned against the wall in the hallway, took several deep breaths, trying to calm the heart that seemed ready to burst from her chest. "What was that?" she whispered. What did I just see?" And then she remembered. The orphanage had security cameras. Sarah practically ran to the small office. Her hands trembled so much, it took her 3 tries to type the computer password correctly. She turned on the security system, searched for the hallway camera that partially faced Lily's room. Her fingers tapped nervously on the desk while the system loaded. She rewound the footage to 2:37 a.m., pressed play. Sarah appeared in the hallway. She watched herself on the screen, walking slowly, stopping in front of Lily's door. Sarah entered the room. The camera didn't show the entire inside, only a part of the open door and part of the hallway. She watched herself standing still. On the recording, she was completely motionless. For how long? Sarah glanced at the timer. 1 minute and 43 seconds she stood frozen at that door. But in the recording, There was no one else. No woman, no blue cloak, nothing. Sarah turned off the computer, rested her face in her hands. "But I saw her," she murmured. "I saw her. She was less than 3 meters away. I saw her." And the scent of roses. The scent was still on her clothes. Sarah lifted the sleeve of her robe to her nose. Roses, definitely roses. She sat there in the silent office for how long? She didn't know. Just trying to process what had happened. Finally, when the sky began to lighten with the first signs of dawn, she stood up, walked back to her small apartment, lay down on the bed without taking off her robe, and she stayed there, staring at the ceiling until the sun rose completely. Sarah hadn't told anyone what she had seen. How could she? They would think she had lost her mind. But in the days that followed, Sarah watched Lily closely, and she noticed something. The girl seemed different. Sarah knew Lily. She knew every expression on that little face, every change in mood, and there was something lighter about her now, a spark in her eyes that hadn't been there before, a serenity that was new, and the seizures. An entire week had passed. Lily hadn't had a single seizure. Margaret, the orphanage nurse, remarked on Friday, "Sarah, have you noticed? Lily's been 8 days without any episodes." Sarah nodded, trying to sound casual. "Yes, I noticed. That's a long time for her." "A cheer. Maybe the medication is finally working better," Sarah suggested. Margaret frowned. "But it's the same medication, the same dosage. Nothing's changed." But deep down, Sarah knew, that night, that woman, those hands on Lily's head. It was all connected. It had to be. 2 weeks went by. Lily still hadn't had any seizures. Margaret looked visibly puzzled. "Do you think we should take her to Dr. Morrison? Maybe run some new tests?" "She's fine, Margaret. Better than ever, actually." Maybe we should just be thankful that she's well, don't you think?" Margaret studied Sarah's face. "You're acting strange. Did something happen?" Sarah looked away. "No, I'm just happy that Lily's better." But Margaret knew her too well. "Sarah, if there's something you need to talk about, there's nothing." But there was everything. 3 weeks, 21 days, without seizures. That's when Sarah did something she hadn't done in 3 years. It was a Friday night. The orphanage was silent. Sarah went into her small office, closed the door, locked it. She looked at the framed image of the Virgin Mary on the wall. The same one she had ignored for 3 years, the one she had turned her back to. She knelt on the cold floor, and she prayed. "I don't know if you're listening." Her voice trembled, barely above a whisper. "I don't know if I deserve you to listen. I drifted away. I got angry. So angry." Tears began to stream down her face. "When Michael left, I stopped believing that you cared. I stopped believing there was any purpose. I just stopped." Sarah covered her face with her hands. "But if what I saw that night was real," the sobs came. "If it was you taking care of this little girl that nobody wants, if it was you showing me that you're still here, then thank you." Sarah cried there on the office floor. For the first time in years, she cried for Michael. She cried for Lily. She cried for herself. And when finally there were no more tears left, Sarah felt something. It wasn't that her pain had disappeared. It wasn't that everything was fixed. It wasn't that Michael's absence had been filled. But there was a thread of hope that hadn't been there before. A small light at the end of a very long, very dark tunnel. 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 6 weeks without seizures. Dr. Morrison, Lily's doctor, was genuinely puzzled. "Sarah, in all the years I've been following this girl, I've never seen such a long period without seizures. 6 weeks is statistically very unusual. What do you think is happening?" Dr. Morrison studied the papers in front of him. "Honestly, I don't know." It was in December that something happened. Sarah was in the cafeteria helping the children when Margaret rushed in. "Sarah, there's a couple here. They want information about adoption." Sarah felt her heart race. "Okay." Can you take care of them? They asked to speak specifically with you." Sarah wiped her hands on her apron and followed Margaret to the reception room. A couple was waiting. He looked to be in his 40s, hair starting to turn gray. She was a bit younger, blonde hair tied in a ponytail, gentle smile. "Hi," the man said, extending his hand. "I'm James Williams. This is my wife, Linda." "Sarah Mitchell, nice to meet you. I understand you're looking for information about adoption." "Yes," Linda said. "We've been married for 10 years. We couldn't have biological children, and, well, we feel it's time to take this step." Sarah led them to her office. They talked for almost an hour. Sarah explained the process, the paperwork, the requirements, the usual waiting time. "Do you have any specific profile in mind?" Sarah asked. "Age? Gender?" James and Linda exchanged glances. "We just want one who needs a family." Something in the way he said that touched Sarah. "Let me show you some pictures of the ones available for adoption." Sarah opened the files on the computer. She showed picture after picture, until she showed Lily's photo. Linda stopped breathing, literally. "Who is she?" Linda asked, her voice trembling. "Lily, 7 years old. She's been with us for 3 years. "Why hasn't she been adopted yet?" James asked. "She's special," Linda said softly. "There's something special about her." Sarah took a deep breath. Here came the hard part. "Lily has epilepsy. She's had frequent seizures for years, 2-3 episodes a week. She needs daily medication, constant medical supervision, and—" Sarah saw it happen, that change in expression, that hesitation. "And because of that, 8 couples have already backed out of the adoption, after learning about her medical history." James and Linda remained silent. "But I need to say something. In the last few weeks, Lily hasn't had a single seizure, not one. The doctors can't explain it, but she's better than ever." James took Linda's hand. "Can we meet her?" Sarah's eyes widened. Even knowing, James confirmed. "If she has seizures again, we'll deal with it. But we're not giving up on her because of a medical condition. She deserves a family." Sarah had to fight back tears. Linda and Lily sat on the office floor with paper and colored pencils. James joined them. For an hour they simply drew together. Sarah watched from the side, her heart tight. Lily was smiling, a genuine smile. Linda and James laughed with her, asked questions, listened carefully to every word she said. And something happened. The adoption process took 3 months. Lily began visiting the Williams home on weekends. With each visit, she came back happier. "They have a dog, Sarah, a huge golden dog named Max. They made a room for me, pink, just the way I like it. Linda said I can call her Mom whenever I want." Sarah watched that transformation with her heart full. It wasn't just that Lily was getting a family. It was that Lily was blooming, becoming the child she was always meant to be. On the day of the farewell, Sarah helped Lily pack her few belongings. "Are you going to miss this place?" Sarah asked. Lily thought for a moment. "I'll miss you. You always took care of me." Sarah hugged the girl. "And you know you can come visit whenever you want." Lily hesitated, then whispered, "Sarah, can I tell you a secret?" "Of course, sweetheart." "That night, I was awake." Sarah's heart stopped. "Awake?" "I woke up to a smell of flowers. I opened my eyes and saw a very beautiful lady. She was kneeling beside my bed. She wore a blue mantle." Sarah couldn't breathe. She touched my head and said, "You are not alone, little one. And you will have the family you always wished for." And then you came into the room. I pretended to be asleep because I thought you wouldn't believe me. Tears streamed down Sarah's face. "I believe you, Lily. I believe you." Sarah stood at the orphanage door, watching the car drive away. Lily waved from the window, smiling, and Sarah, for the first time in years, looked up to the sky and said, "Thank you, Virgin Mary." That night Sarah walked into the office. She took the image of the Virgin Mary from the wall and placed it on her desk, where she could see it every day. It wasn't a dramatic return to faith. It was quiet, simple. She just started praying again before going to sleep. She began talking to God as if speaking to an old friend she hadn't seen in a long time. And when new children arrived at the orphanage, traumatized, frightened, Sarah would say, "You're not alone here. You never are." 6 months after the adoption, Linda sent a letter. "Sarah, I wanted you to know Lily is still seizure-free. Dr. Morrison said it's the longest period he's ever seen. She's happy, healthy, doing well in school. She has friends. She plays with Max every day, and every night before bed, she prays for the lady in the blue cloak and for you." Sarah carefully folded the letter and placed it in the drawer along with the photo of Lily on adoption day, and she smiled, because she knew the truth. There are things cameras can't capture. There are presences technology can't detect. There are moments only a few are privileged to witness. Sarah had seen it. Lily had seen it. And 2 lives were transformed on that silent October night. Because sometimes, when we least expect it, when hope seems impossible, when we think no one is watching, there is someone kneeling beside us, caring, protecting, blessing. Love is there. Before we finish, I want to invite you to be part of our community of prayer for the Virgin Mary, a space of faith and hope where people from all over the world come together to pray and share the graces they've received. If you feel in your heart the desire to join this prayer chain, click below, become a member of the channel today, and come pray with us. And look, if you've made it this far to the end of Sarah and Lily's story, do one thing for me. Write roses in the comments, the fragrance that shouldn't have been there, but was. I want to see how many hearts this story has truly reached. And every time I read roses in the comments, I'll know that one more person believes that the miracles of the Virgin Mary still happen. If this story touched your heart, subscribe to the channel and turn on the notification bell. Write in the comments about a miracle you've witnessed or experienced, and share this video with someone who needs to renew their hope today. May the Virgin Mary continue to bless and protect you and your family. Amen.